And now, coming to you from an undisclosed location, Deep Dive, with Digital Nomad Investor and the HODL Review.
I was reading another article that kind of went into all these conspiracy theories related to cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, and it talked a lot about Satoshi. And here's an individual or a group. Nobody even knows who this person is or a group is, but yet it's changed finances for years and years to come, right? I mean, it's created this whole digital currency ecosystem. And so as they look into it, they're like, who is Satoshi? And then there's some other articles that popped up here regarding, and this was on Investopedia, and the title here was, did the NSA infiltrate cryptocurrencies? So one of the conspiracies of the Bitcoin theory to begin with is that it was something manufactured or created by the U.S. government. Here's another article talking about the NSA infiltration, and here we are all working with cryptocurrency. And so, was it something that had good intent? Was it something that had control and theft of privacy intent? Because it's funny, we were sold on cryptocurrency, and this has come up in a couple different videos that I've been on, but we were you buy into the concept. Originally, if you look at a lot of the Bitcoin maxis, they got into it because it was going to free them and liberate them from banks. But now, as we know, everything you do is recorded and it's transparent. It's out in the open. You might free yourself from the bank, but are you freeing yourself from the governments that are now going to regulate you and control your every movement? And we've talked about all this stuff so many times, and what Canada was doing. They're starting to look at a method of making sure they're monitoring everyone's purchases for tax purposes. But there's something to all of that. I don't know. I mean, that's, there could be crazy conspiracy theories that it was the government behind it, with an ulterior motive, just like we're talking with China. Maybe it's the NSA isn't just infiltrating, but they actually started it. These are, all these different thoughts that people have out there.
Did any of those articles cover? There's some Bitcoin wallets that have value, like I guess in the high, I don't know, hundreds of millions or billions of dollars that have been dormant and not touched since the beginning, and so that's why some people use that as evidence that it's a state-sponsored creation, because if it was just an individual or group of individuals, would they leave, hundreds of millions or billions of dollars of value there dormant since the beginning and not touch it? Which, that's a strong argument that, that suggests it's a state-sponsored creation. Carrying that through, if we know the end game, diving deeper, if we know the end game of digital currencies with the globalists, which is the one world currency, right? We can, if you don't, you can even go and cite that cover from The Economist that everyone talks about in our community, right? From 1988, saying in 2018, be ready for a one world currency, and that's the Rothschild publication. So that's not really too far-fetched to follow that, pull that thread and run with it and see where it goes. So if their end game is to have a one world currency, and it makes sense because then they could track everybody, they could tax everybody, and they can unbank anyone when that, you want to protest in Hong Kong, okay, we're going to just unbank all of you, So if we know their end game, just like I always say, it's not speculation in a chess game to know that your opponent wants checkmate as his end game, and you want checkmate as your end game. That's not speculation, even though it's looking forward, right? That's your plan. So then you start from where you're at and start planning your moves. And the same thing here with the one world currency. I just did a video on continental currencies, 5 or 6 currencies. So, if you take the concept of incrementalism that is pretty well established that that's what the governments do to prepare us for things that are controversial in the long run. You know, if their end game's a one world currency, starting with, you know, they got to start that digital currency somewhere. You know, and was Bitcoin the beginning of it, even though it may not have been the most effective project? You can make a very strong argument, you know, throw in the thing about the dormant wallets and other stuff, that, you know, it was the beginning of the digital currency movement, you know, and of course they may not come up with the final product, you know, at the first try, you know, but they just keep improving. You know, you can make a strong argument for that. You know, I could, if someone said that to me, I would say, okay, I can see that, knowing what their end game is. If we didn't believe that end game, or at least that's what I believe, you know, based on the evidence that I've seen, that they do want everything digital. I'm not saying it'll happen in our lifetime, maybe 30 years down the road, but, you know, the governments are going to get behind the digital movement. And you know, we talk about it, all of us have talked about, the more our project gets successful, the more the world goes digital, the more freedom we give up of our financial privacy. So how far do we want that to go? How much success do we want of the digital movement?
Right.
You know, because you can't have one without the other. You can't have success of it, you know, and this is kind of a gloomy thing to think about, I'm sorry, but and so what I say is, you know, let's ride this prosperity in the short run, and then, you know, or I say ride the globalist coattails in the short run to prosperity, and then we jump off when we reach our prosperity and fight their long-term, you know, nefarious goals, because if we believe that's the natural evolution of it.
To watch the entire segment, click on the link in the description. See you on the next deep dive, Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time.